guy who called the Grey Cup Championship game on TSN is joining us. We talk to his partner twice a week, so I'm like, why don't we get Rod on the show? Mr. Smith, thanks so much for joining us here in the Sports Cage.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Barney Sharkey. The question is, you guys recovered yet?
Yeah. It was slow Monday. I'm not going to lie to you. I think the province collectively had a headache.
Yeah,
but I'm better today.
Night was a late night. Yeah.
I took it easy. The heartburn from the foods, I think, were the main thing for me.
Yeah.
But other than that, no.
Yeah.
I got to ask you, when you're, this is going to be a tough one, and we're talking to province of Saski here, right? When you're calling a big game like that, and Sask is in it, football here is, everyone's so passionate and all that. Does it mean just a little bit more, Rod?
Well, certainly, I mean, I feel more magnitude in the game, no question. I mean, you can't help. I mean, the way that province, Saskatchewan, feels about the Canadian Football League, and I've known that my whole life, it is special. It really is. I mean, that's not saying I was pulling for the Riders or pulling for the Alouettes. It doesn't matter. But the magnitude, I'll tell you, for obvious reasons. I mean, it was big in Winnipeg. It was pretty darn big at Mosaic the week before for that West Final and that dramatic ending against the BC Lions. But no, it's pretty cool because you can just feel the energy. There's something it's not even tangible. I mean, I'd experienced it before calling Olympic swimming over in London in 2012, where you'd go in the building and there was like this buzz for finals. It felt different than the prelims earlier. And so you're talking about regular season versus a Grey Cup. You go in the building and you just feel the energy. It's not even so much the roar of the crowd. You can just tell something important is happening. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders always make it bigger.
Interesting you say that. I really appreciate that because you felt it all week here in the city leading up to it. The conversations everywhere about where are you watching? Are you going? Can you get a last-minute ticket? We were reporting every day hotel prices and ticket prices. I got to ask you a question, though, as a play-by-play guy. Now, you were a former football player. You were an offensive lineman at Queens.
Yeah, and a couple of years in college.
Yeah. Does that affect the way you call a game? Do you look at the game differently when you're watching that as a former offensive lineman?
I hope it gives me a better understanding of the game fundamentally, but I'm still following the play. So, and I've got Suits beside me who is the analyst, and I lean on him heavily to find certain things. I like to think that, some of it will come to me when I can see what's happening, or I certainly have a better understanding, I think, for having played, and that was a long, long time ago. But I mean, even before then, I mean, I grew up enjoying the game, even as a fan. So, and I followed it. So, I guess it does, but I've just that was so long ago, and I've just been following the game so much, thankfully, through work. I've been, it's been great to have a job covering the CFL for many years. So, but again, the number one responsibility when you're play-by-play is to be following the ball and what's going on, right there. While Suits will get more analytical about how things happen.
Now, my next question: you and Suits, have you ever compared number of concussions?
You know what? I've never asked him about that. He was a hard-hitting safety too. I had a mild one in high school, and I didn't have one after that. Although you're playing online play, I mean, there's always,
you've always got one.
The rules were a bit different too, and helmet to helmet was kind of encouraged back then. So, I mean, I didn't know. I've never asked him about that, but he. I don't. As I say, it would surprise me only because of the way he played. He was hard hitting. So I don't know. I'll have to ask him that sometime. Did he ever have one?
And those helmets back in the day were like glorified hard hats. You find in a meat packing plant.
Oh,
they're not what they are.
I got one somewhere. I don't know if it's in my. The one I had in college was just a little. Yeah. Well, they used to have them where it was just like a little little bandage that seemed to be like elastic in there, and then a little pad in the middle. That was
that's right. Yeah.
That wasn't doing a whole lot for you. So
I know what you're talking for sure. The better question is: Suits ever told you the story about when he was teaching scuba diving in the Cayman Islands?
Yes.
No.
You got to ask him next year. Okay. Put that on the list. He wasn't,
and that should be on air. Don't ask him off air. That's an on-air story.
Say, you're not gonna let your listeners hang now, wondering what the story is. Are you?
Oh, he's told it on here.
He has. Okay.
It's gut busting fun. We bring it up to him all the time.
Right.
And he was going back the next year, but then he got married. So it's a funny story. Okay, I got to ask you. First one, I want to play this clip at the end of the game. They're going to ask you a question.
Last play. Alexander needs a touchdown. Heaving it down the field. Into the end zone. Deflected, and it falls to the field. And gray has just turned green and white. The Saskatchewan Roughriders and Trevor Harris have won the Grey Cup.
Okay, because I love the West final call where you're like, it's Saskatchewan's time, and then you went with the West has a new best. Now, gray has turned green. Obviously, you had one for Montreal in case they won. We don't want to go there. How many of those were on the cutting room floor? Those last, what you were going to say there? Or does that come up last? I've called a little bit of play-by-play in my day. I love it that you guys have something in your pocket, and I thought it was fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, some of them, you think about them, you don't script it out, believe it, even if it sounds so. But you do have something put away just in case, because you know it's going to be such a big moment. You know it's going to be played again and again. And, I have learned over the years, sometimes the hard way, that less is more. Try not to make it too long. This is a championship moment. It's very obvious. But I had mulled that over, and then it's around sometime, I guess, in the fourth quarter when, during a commercial break, you do start thinking about it. You want to commit to an idea, and you want it to sound appropriate and and fitting for the way it ended. And so I had been thinking that over. You talk about the cutting room floor. Do you want to know what I was thinking? Had the Alouettes come back and won?
Of course,
sure.
Okay, well, it was their campaign was the grind for 9. That's what they called it 2 years ago. Let's be great for 8. Jason Moss was coming up with these slogans, these mottos for their season. And after they'd won their 8th, ever since, it's the grind for 9. And so what I was thinking, especially if Davis Alexander was on the field, and it was going to be simply, and the grind for 9 ends with a perfect 10. And just because that's his number, but that's also the number of games he started this season. I know it would have been 14-0, but I thought, but you know what? I just had a feeling about the Riders in this game anyway, and so you start thinking about it anyway.
That is so cool that you shared that with us.
And both were very, very good.
Oh,
very good.
Bravo.
Yeah. And I'm sure, especially Saskatchewan Roughrider fans are glad it hit the cutting room floor. So.
Without a doubt.
Okay, here's a question. When you go back, and I want to ask you a little bit later more about play-by-play people in your life and all that, but when you go back and you think, do you believe in miracles? Touch 'em all, Joe. Which one stands out for you as a broadcaster, Rod?
It's funny because those they're iconic. They really are. And I think to a Bob Cole in hockey too. I'm trying to think of of something that he would have had at the end of a game. But the Al Michaels call, of course, and that's when you're doing play-by-play. And Chris Cuthbert, who preceded me for many years on TSN and CBC before that, is an absolute legend at just coming up with the right thing and not making it too long, making it punchy. I remember his one in 19 was, and the Bombers have put the win back in Winnipeg. That was it. That was after 29 years. And it's a little harder when it's dramatic. If something, if it's sudden at the end in overtime, it's tougher. Something you can't really anticipate. If it's not building up to one final moment, if it just suddenly happens, then it tends to be, I would think, more spontaneous and nothing planned. I mean, it's just, especially if it's just something absolutely stunning, then you just go by your gut feeling, I guess. But I remember Vin Scully. It sometimes, sometimes it can be very simple. I remember 1986 World Series, the Red Sox and the Mets. And I don't know why it just, there was one, the Kirk Gibson home run. That was one.
The pumping of the arm.
And it was, but the energy in the stadium at the time, the meaning of it all, the fact that the Dodgers were down and out and the mighty Oakland A's were going to beat them, obviously, and Kirk Gibson, I mean, the story helped. So he didn't need to do too much with it. But Vin Scully just had this knack. He was a masterful storyteller. It could have been the game. that game call in '88, I think, was just "and she is gone." It was just the way he said it, though, and then he let it breathe, and then you lay out and you let the crowd do the rest. And I think his one for Jesse Orozco, I think, for the Mets in '86 in Game 7 after the Bill Buckner miracle and everything in Game 6, and I just think he said "got him." That's all he had to say. But for some reason, it stuck in my head. It wasn't necessarily catchy or brilliant, but it was powerful in its own way, and that's the stuff you do tend to remember. Sometimes you can overthink it and want to do something absolute, and sometimes it just, I find sometimes simple is best. Try to keep it as simple as possible.
Such great comments, man. And as you're saying them, I'm remembering them all, watching them through my life as I'm coming along. You've had a heck of a season on the CFL. You obviously, the Grey Cup was a big piece, but was there another game that stands out for you in terms of broadcasting and your experience with whoever was your color guy that particular night? Is there another game that you go, that's one that I'm going to remember for a long time?
Well, I'll give you three, and one of it is recency bias. I thought we had a good broadcast, I thought, for the West Final in Regina, and that game delivered. I mean, it was... Yep. It had some powerful moments to it, and not just with the Riders and Trevor Harris. It did with Nathan Rourke. You know, when we got the sound of him in the end zone after he ran in for that touchdown, I think his second of the game, saying, you know, contrary to what Trevor Harris was saying earlier in the week, you know, I don't want to talk about Nathan Rourke. This is our time. And when the shot of Rourke going in after that touchdown, which I think put the Lions ahead,
it did,
saying it's our time, and we picked up that sound. That was, even for a visiting team in a place where fans are going crazy for the green and white, that was powerful. And then what the Riders did following that, too, and the touchdown by Tommy Neild and the little delay before it was confirmed and places going nuts. I mean, that is, I can't be a fan of any team, but I can still be a fan of the game. I have been all my life, and I was a fan of the game. That would really deliver it. And the other two, I would say, there were two games between the Lions and the Hamilton Tiger Cats that I got to call, and they were both extraordinary. One was the Robert Carter interception of Bo Levi Mitchell. That was in week 8, which is, to me, that was the play of the year. That was absolutely incredible. Well, there we go. And Hamilton ended up coming back and winning that game. And then a couple of weeks later, it was the Lions in Hamilton, and that one went to overtime. It was a Shaun White walk-off, and they were, I remember thinking at the time, geez, if these two teams are in the Grey Cup, if they're going to deliver like that, what are we in store for? But, I mean, they those were the ones that stick out. But I think, honestly, heading into the Grey Cup, I just enjoyed the whole experience. Everything went well with the broadcast and the game itself, that West Final when the Riders came back and beat the Lions.
I remember the BC game. I was sitting at the cabin because I hit my money line.
Well, there you go. I remember. There's always a way to trigger that memory, isn't there?
Yeah, good and bad. Good and bad, Ron. Yeah. So what do you do now that the CFL's done?
Well, I often go back to SportsCenter. I don't know. I'll wait and see what other assignments are for me, and I largely do CFL stuff now, and maybe some off-season CFL content as well. I would love to do so. We'll wait and see. I usually, as I say, that in the past anyway, ever since 2014 when Dave Randorf left and they needed a new host for the panel, then that was the arrangement that I'll do CFL during the CFL season, host the panel, and then after that go back to SportsCenter. So that's what I've been doing ever since. Would you like to be a play-by-play in hockey? Is that there was a time when I would have loved to have tried it. Probably not now. It's not that I don't want to. I just I don't want to sound defeatist about it, but it's just been so long ago since I tried it. I did junior hockey, majored in the OHL when the Toronto Marlies were in the OHL before they moved up the AHL that name, but. I did those games in the Ontario Hockey League. That was in the mid-'80s, though. That was a long time ago. And I don't think I was very good. To be honest with you, I don't think I was very good. I think I think I had more. I like to think that I'm better at football than I would be at hockey. But there was a time when sometimes it's a lot of time on the road. It's a lot of time away from home. Especially when the kids are young. Years ago, they aren't. I mean, they're all grown up now. But at the time. If I did CFL play-by-play, by the way, in the late 90s. I hosted the panel in 97, and then I was, along with Gord Miller and John Wells at the time, we had 3 play-by-play voices in 1998, 99, and then it trickled into the 2000s before Rod Black came along and Chris Cuthbert. And so there was a window there where I did call games, and I missed it. I did a lot of studio work after that for many years until I got an opportunity to call games again.
Yeah, I want the Friday Night Football song back. I think.
Oh yeah, because from 1997.
I was just of age,
Yeah.
and we would play. We'd play in the men's league, and we'd go to the bar and watch Friday Night Football.
Yeah.
Okay, I've always thought, Rod, I don't even know if you're a golfer, but I'm going to give you this. I always thought you would be really good calling golf.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I mean, I'm not, well, put it this way. I golf. I'm not a golfer. But anyway, but no, I mean, I'll tell you this much. I do, I love golf coverage. I can appreciate how the announcers have to approach it differently. I mean, Jim Nantz, of course, is the great example to that, who does football.
Yeah.
He used to do college basketball, and then obviously he gets to tone it down. I mean, that's right in his wheelhouse. I love listening to him like call the Masters, but
who doesn't?
But I don't know.
Yeah.
If any of the friends that I golf with, if they they would think I would have to be way better than I play in order to be a decent golf pro.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
Who's your Mount Rushmore of your all-time favorite play-by-play announcers, any sport?